Imagine a world where the great Aztec Empire defeated the Spanish conquistadors. What if Hernán Cortés and his small army had been stopped and sent away? How would history have changed? How would life be different in North and Central America, and even the world, if that had happened? Before the Spanish arrived in 1519, the Aztec Empire was one of the most powerful and advanced civilizations in the Americas. Their capital city, Tenochtitlan, was built on an island in the middle of Lake Texcoco. It was an incredible city with wide streets, canals that worked like rivers, huge temples, royal palaces, and busy markets filled with goods from all over the empire. The city was so large and well designed that many early European visitors said it was more beautiful and impressive than many cities in Europe at that time. The Aztecs had a highly organized society made up of farmers, artisans, merchants, priests, warriors, and rulers. They created a complex calendar system, developed their own writing using pictographs, and built amazing temples and sculptures. The Aztecs were skilled engineers who built causeways and aqueducts to bring water into their city, and they created floating gardens called chinampas to grow crops in the lake. Religion was at the center of Aztec life. They worshipped many gods connected to nature, war, fertility, and the sun. The Aztecs believed that the gods controlled everything, from the seasons to the success of their crops. To keep the gods happy, they performed elaborate ceremonies and rituals, some of which included human sacrifices. These sacrifices were meant to give strength to the sun and ensure the survival of the world. Although this practice shocked the Spanish, for the Aztecs, it was a sacred duty and part of their deep spiritual belief. Montezuma II was the emperor at the time the Spanish arrived. He was a powerful leader but faced many difficulties. The Aztec Empire ruled over many other tribes and city-states, some of whom resented Aztec control and wanted to break free. When Hernán Cortés landed on the Mexican coast with just a few hundred men, Montezuma initially tried to welcome him peacefully, believing that Cortés might be a god or sent by the gods. This decision proved to be a costly mistake. The Spanish soon betrayed this trust and took Montezuma prisoner, which led to conflict and war. The Spanish had some advantages that helped them conquer the Aztecs. They carried guns and steel weapons, which were much stronger than the Aztecs' traditional weapons made from wood, stone, and obsidian. The Spanish also rode horses, which terrified the Aztecs because they had never seen such animals before. Another deadly factor was the European diseases brought by the Spanish, like smallpox, measles, and influenza. The native people had no immunity to these diseases, and millions died, including many Aztec warriors and leaders. This weakened the Aztec resistance and helped the Spanish take control. But the Aztecs had many strengths as well. They had a large, well-trained army and knew their land perfectly. Their city's location on an island with canals and lakes made it difficult for the Spanish to attack directly. Their warriors were brave and highly skilled in battle, motivated not only by loyalty to their emperor, but also by religious duty. If the Aztecs had managed to unite all their allies and surrounding tribes, they could have formed a much stronger force against the Spanish invaders. Some neighboring tribes actually sided with the Spanish because they wanted to free themselves from Aztec rule. But if the Aztecs had kept these tribes loyal, or persuaded them to join against the foreigners, the Spanish would have faced an enemy many times larger and much harder to defeat. The Aztecs were intelligent and adaptable. They could have used clever tactics to fight the Spanish. Their knowledge of the swamps, lakes, and canals around Tenochtitlan could have helped trap Spanish soldiers or cut off their supply lines. Over time, the Aztecs might have learned how to fight against horses and guns more effectively. Their warriors were disciplined and fierce, and their determination to protect their homeland was very strong. If the Aztecs had won the war and defeated the Spanish, the entire history of the Americas would be very different. The Spanish would never have conquered Mexico and Central America. The devastating European diseases would not have spread so quickly or so widely. Millions of indigenous people who died could have survived and thrived. The Aztec Empire might have grown larger and more powerful, expanding into other parts of Mexico, Central America, and possibly beyond. Their language, Nahuatl, would have continued to be spoken by millions of people. Their religion and culture would have remained central to their society and developed even further. Trade between the Aztecs and other great civilizations like the Maya, the Inca, and perhaps even Asia and Europe might have increased. This would have led to new ideas, technologies, and wealth. Imagine if the Aztecs had built ships capable of ocean travel or learned new farming and engineering techniques. that helped them feed their growing population. Religion would have remained central to the society. Instead of Christianity, the Aztec gods would have continued to influence laws, festivals, and daily life. Their famous temples, like the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, would have been centers of worship and learning for centuries. Europe would also have felt the effects of an Aztec victory. Spain gained enormous wealth from the gold and silver taken from the Americas, which helped it become one of the most powerful countries in Europe for many years. Without this treasure, Spain's influence might have weakened. This could have changed the balance of power in Europe and affected wars and politics across the continent. The spread of Christianity in the Americas would have been much slower or mixed with native beliefs. New religions and cultures might have emerged, blending Aztec traditions with foreign ideas, creating a rich and unique cultural heritage. Today, if the Aztecs had won, the Americas might look very different. Countries might be based on indigenous cultures and languages, with strong ties to their history and traditions. The art, music, architecture, and festivals of the Aztecs would be alive and celebrated worldwide. The Aztecs were not just warriors and priests. They were also farmers who created innovative methods like chinampas, floating gardens built on the lake's surface that allowed them to grow more food. They were skilled artists and craftsmen, producing beautiful jewelry, pottery, and textiles. Their calendar was highly accurate, and they understood astronomy better than many other civilizations of their time. Famous Aztec warriors like the Jaguar and Eagle Knights were highly respected for their bravery and skill. These warriors wore special costumes and fought with weapons like the macuahuitl, a wooden sword with sharp obsidian blades. The Aztecs held many festivals and ceremonies to honor their gods, including the famous Feast of the Sun and the festival dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun. What if this rich and advanced culture had continued to grow without interruption? What if their knowledge of agriculture, science, and art had developed further and influenced the world? Think about this. How different would the world be if native civilizations like the Aztecs had survived European conquest? How would culture, language, politics, and religion have evolved? What lessons can we learn from their story about unity, strength, and the power of belief? Although the Aztec Empire fell, their legacy remains strong. Millions of people today still speak Nahuatl and celebrate Aztec traditions. The ruins of Tenochtitlan remind us of their greatness. By imagining what could have been, we honor their memory and understand the importance of preserving native cultures and histories. Next time you hear about the Spanish conquest, remember the Aztecs, a great empire with a rich culture and brave people who fought to protect their world. Imagine a world where their story was different, where they shaped history with their own strength and wisdom.